Hello, everybody. How are you all this evening? I'm Eli, the electronics guy. We are going to be talking about the brand new OBSBOT talent. Yeah, hopefully you all can hear me okay. If so, comment below, let me know. Audio sounds good. Hello, hello. Sadly, I didn't get chat up on the screen tonight, so I didn't have enough time to get all that put into the system. So I just figured, we'll do a live show. Just come on. I know a bunch of people are talking about the OBSBOT talent, and figured it'd be a fun time to show what it can do and talk about it. So I know a lot of people have questions about what is it, what's it look like. I put out a video earlier today, kind of just a brief overview of it. So if you haven't seen that, go check out my channel. It's like 8-10 minutes long, something like that. I think around 8.5 minutes. But yeah, there's a couple other YouTube channels that have got some good videos about it. So, but I figured it'd be a good time to do some Q&A on it. So awesome. Thank you for letting me know audio is good. So I figured it would be. So cool. So let me get you guys switched over to a different view here. So like I said, we've got the talent here all connected up so you can see it. Got a camera right on it. So if I come back to here, I'm actually going to turn off the overhead light so it'll be a little bit easier to see. So let me get that switched off. There we go. That'll make it a little bit easier to see the talent screen. So let me pull up camera 3 here. So I guess we'll start off with what do you guys want to see first? What do you want me to dive into? I saw a few people looking at scoreboards, that kind of stuff, so we can take a look at it, see what that looks like. So if I go ahead and tap the screen, you'll see I'm actually feeding one of my OBSBOTs up here, fed in over HDMI actually. And then I have some webcams I can feed in as well tonight, so we can test out those. So yeah. So if I pull up that webcam, this is the OBSBOT tail air fed in over HDMI. So if I go in here to edit, one thing I noticed was when I had it in here, you might see like the flickering screen. With your human eye, you're not going to see it. It's the camera recording the screen. That's why you're seeing that. But one thing I did have to do, if I come in here for the PTZ controls, for that camera, obviously this is my local IP address for that camera on like my IoT network. But I did have to change this port. I don't remember what the default port was, but I did have to change this to the Visa port so that would work. So I had to do that and enable this checkbox, and then I actually have PTZ controls on this camera. So if I go ahead and back out of here and I click on this little control icon right there, that is my PTZ controls, and I can actually control that OBSBOT camera that's coming in over HDMI. So it's actually controlling it through the network. And then I can even do the presets, and I can go back to preset number 1 and have it punch back in. You can control the digital zoom on it, so I can go really close, really far. I can change the focus or have it be autofocus, all there on that screen. So let me go back to that preset. So let's take a look at, let's get the stream. Presets, yeah. So the presets, you can actually go through and like if you want to set a different preset, you can actually come in here and you can say store that as preset 8. So now if I go to preset 1, it's going to go there, and then I can go to preset 8 and it's going to go back to that preset that I had there. So yeah, so you get actually 9 different presets. Now when it's coming over NDI, I noticed it doesn't have that many presets, but when you're bringing it in over HDMI, doing that PTZ control, you do get a lot more presets. And we'll actually, we'll disconnect this HDMI one here in a little bit, it will actually bring in that source over NDI so you guys can see what that looks like. So, but yeah, so just so you guys know, come into here. Let me go ahead and exit out of my settings there. So if I long press, go to edit, over here, PTZ control. For the OBSBOT tail airs, this is what you have to enable. So you get your local IP address of your tail air, and then you do have to change the port number. I forget, I want to say it was like 1257, something like that, was the default. We might see that if we go over to the other HDMI and see what it is. But this is what you have to change it to. It's 52381, and then you have to enable this VESA UDP header. And then that was it. You just save it. I hit cancel because I don't want to change anything. But now that PTZ control will work. And I can go back to my preset number 2 or my preset number 1, where it's going to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, tail air. This the camera you guys are actually looking at is another tail air recording the screen. So this does not have any kind of like HDMI out, so I'm not able to feed it straight into my encoder that I'm encoding going to YouTube, which is kind of a bummer. So I didn't use this tonight. I almost used this as the basically encoder to YouTube to do the live stream from this, but then I wouldn't be able to like do a bunch of different things and show you guys as well. So I opted to not do that and to just feed a different encoder in and then just do a camera. It does have USB-C like DisplayPort out, so it will output video over the USB-C, but it has to be to DisplayPort. It won't work. You can't get this view through the UVC out. Do cooking content. Okay, yeah, I think this would be really good for that. It has 2 HDMI ins and 2 USB inputs, so you could feed 2 cameras over HDMI. My video I put out earlier today, I was talking about, I thought it was 4 NDI feeds. It actually looks like it's only 3 NDI feeds. You could actually bring in like 2 HDMI, 2 USB, 3 NDI, or 3 SRT feeds. So you can bring in a lot of different inputs into this little tiny box. Yeah. Does the talent have the ability to do lower thirds and scrolling text? Yes, it does. So we can come in here to the graphics. And then if I go ahead and hit add graphics, here's all the different graphics that you can actually add in. So you asked about lower thirds. So we can go ahead and grab a lower third. Let's just go ahead and let's take this one. This one looks pretty good. And I can go ahead and come in here. It's hard trying to type with a camera in front of my view. There we go. Finally, got it. And then let's save that. Let's go ahead and double click on that one. Let's save that. So there we go. So we can even adjust the size of that. So we can take it smaller or larger. We can move it down where we want it. So say we want it down in here in this lower third, we can hit save. And then I'll go ahead and click it so it comes on screen, and there we go. So now we have Eli the Electronics Guy live stream. So yeah, can do lower thirds. What was your other question? Scrolling text? Yeah, I did see scrolling text in there. So let's see here. I think it's called animated text is what it's considered. So if I just do a sample text, we'll just leave it at that banner. So we're going to go ahead and turn that one off, and we'll turn that one on. So there you go. Yep. Actually, you know what we should do? Let's actually edit that. Let's go long press, edit. Let's double click on it. Let's do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, nope. There we go. Now we'll make it a little bit smaller. See how that looks. Save it. Let's go on air. Had to do it, sorry. So let's see what else. Yeah, I think it can have about 7. Yeah, it's tons of inputs it can do. Yeah, it's unreal how many inputs it can actually do. So if I actually go to, we'll go back to we'll turn off graphics. We can actually scroll over to the different inputs. So here are all the different inputs that you can actually feed in. So you can do quite a few. You've got your 2 HDMI sources, 2 USB sources. You can actually feed video clips and pictures right from the SD card, or over those USBs, you can actually put in a USB like thumb drive or jump drive and bring in video and pictures from there. You can do RTMP pull and RTMP push. So you can pull both those SRT streams and then those NDI sources. So let's actually jump into an NDI source. So currently this OBSBOT tail air is coming in over this HDMI. So let's go ahead and let's disconnect this HDMI. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to jump in. I've got an iPad over here off screen. So I'm actually going to jump into that tail air. It's number 2, so we'll connect into it. And then let's go over to our add sources. We're going to go to NDI and we're going to do a search. So it's not going to find anything yet. So I'm going to come in here to my settings. I'm going to enable NDI mode. It's going to warn me that, hey, I'm going to lose, HDMI, all that other stuff. That's fine. So as soon as I do that, we'll refresh, see if it pops up here, and there it is. So now I have that NDI camera. So now, there we go. That same camera feed now is being fed in over my Wi-Fi network. Now, if you notice, I don't have any other ports plugged into this. I'm actually running this over Wi-Fi and the camera over Wi-Fi. Now, if you're going to be doing NDI, let me go ahead and save that. So now we're bringing that tail air in over NDI. I would highly recommend, if you're going to do NDI sources, let's get rid of that graphics. You're going to have the, I would really recommend having the Talent Cat5'd Ethernet directly into the network, and then do the camera, ideally the camera over a network cable. I prefer cables. I always find that cables work better than Wi-Fi, but it does work. I actually did the video earlier today with it, doing NDI over the Wi-Fi, and it was fine. It was handling the 1080p stream, no problem, coming into it. So, but yeah, I would really recommend, getting that a little bit more. So let's see if I noticed your screen's a little bit darker, so let's go ahead and brighten up the screen. So actually what I did there, I'll show you guys how I got to that. So up here is your little control menu. So if I'm going to disconnect from there. So if I come up here and I just swipe down, it actually gives you this little menu control panel, which I found was really handy. It tells you the IP address, the local IP, gives you brightness control, volume control for headphone jack. You can rotate the screen. Up here, when you have an external display connected, you can actually change what that external display does. It doesn't let me do anything because I don't have anything connected there. All of your different sources or your outputs, and then I thought this was super handy. It actually gives you information about the inputs coming in. So like right here, you can see that NDI, it is coming in at 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames a second. So it is actually giving you information about those feeds coming in, which I thought was super cool. So let me go back to this camera. Go ahead and tell it to focus a little better, see if that helps. yeah. So yeah, that settings screen I thought was pretty neat. So, and then you can just swipe up to get rid of it. So what else you got? Yes, they are making some pretty cool tech. So I actually found the OBSBOT. We have a local computer store called Micro Center. So I was actually in Micro Center one day and I found the OBSBOT Me. They had it there and I was like, that's really cool. It's a cell phone holder that AI tracks you. I was like, this could be really handy. At the time I was actually teaching. So I was like, ooh, this would be perfect for my classroom. I could, COVID was hitting, and I was like, I could put my cell phone in there, connect into Teams, and it could track me while I'm talking. So that's how I found the OBSBOT, was by that purchase. And then they came out with the Tail Air on Kickstarter, and was like, I reached out to him, said, hey, would you guys like to do a video collab? Ended up doing some video collaboration with them. So then they offered, when the talent was coming out, this was about a couple weeks ago. I ended up getting the talent in, and they were like, hey, would you want to review it? And I was like, absolutely. So it is from OBSBOT. They did send it. No money exchanged hands. But sadly, I do have to send this back. So the talent is just on loaner right now. So I'm hoping I can keep it until October. I've got a cyber hygiene AI stuff lecture that I'm actually giving locally here, and they said I could actually live stream it and record it. So I'm hoping, I would actually really like to try to use the talent on that, feed in my laptop over HDMI, and then bring in the other Tail Air over NDI over Wi-Fi. I think would be pretty sweet. Let's see, what else? Can you stream to multiple platforms simultaneously? So like, as far as I know, yes. So in here, there is actually 2 encoders. So there's actually 2 encoders inside this. So my understanding is those encoders, you could send one to one location and one to another. So as far as I know, you can do up to 2 different locations. Or what's really cool about this is you could do a recording onto the SD card at 1080p 60 frames a second, go to your SD card, and then you could come down here and you could actually then have encoder 2 doing like a smaller stream, 1080p, or if you were doing cellular, you might even want to drop down to 720p, maybe even less. Maybe you don't have a lot of bandwidth available, so you want to, even for your live stream, you could even drop it down to 2.5 megabits, stream with that one, but still get a higher recording from that other encoder. Or my understanding is, yes, you can actually, I have not done any of that yet. That's definitely on my list of to-dos, is to actually do a live stream using the internal encoder. What I'd actually like to do is I want to try to do a live stream to YouTube and to LinkedIn, because I'm actually set up on LinkedIn where I can actually do live streaming to LinkedIn. So that might be something that I'll give it a try and see. But as far as I know, yes, you can stream to multiple destinations, all within the box. Yeah, OBS, I've used OBS. It works. I like hardware encoding. I know this is kind of a software encoding. It's got Android running on it. But I like a physical device where it's not my computer. That's what I love about this kind of stuff. This live stream, I'm actually streaming over an ATEM Extreme. That's just what I have set up on my desk, so I can feed in and get the super source. So that's what you guys are seeing right now, is you're seeing a super source layout with me and that. But what's cool is this can also do kind of like a super source layout. So let's actually set that up. So I can come in here, do a new layout. So let's grab the NDI source. So we're going to grab that NDI camera. We're going to resize it, right? And then we're going to actually crop it. So let's go ahead and crop me like that. Obviously I would try to get it better if I was actually going to be like streaming this, but we'll get it close enough. So we've got that, right? Now what we can do is we can actually come in here and we can add another layer. So let's add Let's actually add, let's see, let's try it. Let's grab a USB. Grab a USB camera. So we'll give it a few seconds to boot up. I'm pretty sure this is USB 2. Is which one this is. Let's try it. USB 2, was I right? I had a 50-50 shot, and I'm probably wrong. Nope, I'm wrong. Let's remove that one. Let's try USB 1. Hey, there it is. So USB 1. Make it a little bit bigger. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to crop it. Obviously, I got wires all in here. And let's hit save. So now it basically gives you a scene down here. So I've got, my camera is right. I've got that camera. But now I have this camera here, which is the OBSBOT over NDI, the tail air. And then I have the tiny light coming in over USB, and I'm doing a side-by-side. So this would be super cool if you were doing like a two-person interview, right? You could have them on one screen, and you've got one person on one side, the other person on the other side, doing that kind of split screen. Or you could do kind of like what I'm streaming right now is this could be your laptop or your presentation. This could be you off to the side. You could make it even a little bit smaller, and you could basically get like the talking head box like I'm doing here. So all within this device. And then I can go back and I can switch to that camera, to that feed. This is actually technically a video that comes on the talent, but it doesn't really do no movement. But yeah, so it's pretty neat. You can do that kind of stuff all with inside there. Yeah, that would be cool to do the Xbox into the talent. Yeah, as far as I know, it could. I don't know the latency on it. That would be my only question is, how fast is the HDMI processing? That would be my only question on doing any kind of gaming with it. But if you did like a HDMI splitter prior to coming into here, you would like a low latency. You wouldn't have that issue necessarily. But that would be my only question about this is what the latency is for the HDMI processing. From what I've noticed, it's been pretty snappy. I've not seen, anything that would make me concerned, but I know with gaming that kind of is an issue that a lot of people run into. Yeah, cutting the computer out helps a lot. Getting rid of that PC in a live stream just does wonders. Yeah, so mobile, you were talking about going mobile with this. With the two USB ports on each side, you can actually plug in a USB cellular modem, and you can even do your live streaming over a cellular network. So like in here in the settings, right there, you've got cellular. So if you have a USB cell modem, you can actually then have that be your internet connection. Yeah, the latency is really good. I've not noticed any issues with it. Oh yeah, going back into there, there's another, so you can kind of see the OBSBOT talent, or I'm sorry, into the talent. You can see the Tiny 2 light, what it's coming in at, in that 1920 by 1080. Yes, you can, as far as I know, you can tether your phone. Yep. So yeah, you should be able to plug in your phone, like if you've got an Android, and then share your internet connection to it. Yep. Yeah, pretty versatile. especially for any kind of mobile live streaming. So what else do you guys want to see? Go into the settings. These are all the different settings in here. So there is replay options, so it can do replay. So you can actually come in here. You can set up replays using those two different encoders. You can do your buffer length, like how far back you want it to go, the duration, how fast it plays. If you have any watermarks, you can have it do like the watermark where it has like replay over top of it. You can have it mute the mics or leave the mics on or live, however you want that to go. So it does do replay internally. It's basically just doing a constant first in, first out kind of like recording. Have I tested the MPF battery slots? I have not actually. I have not tried the battery slots on the back. That was one thing that I was kind of bummed. They went with a DC barrel jack for power. I was really wanting to see it be like USB-C PD. That would have been so nice. Have USB power delivery going in. But the plus is it is user replaceable batteries. So let me disconnect this webcam over here. So currently I have the two mounts in here. So these actually come in the box. They're little feet to get it up because you need to allow airflow. So there's these little mounts that go into the MPF battery slots. So if I push down on this one and pull it out, they're actually metal. So they're like an aluminum, I think. But there's your MPF battery slots, and you have battery 1, battery 2, and they are hot swappable. So if you've got 2 in here and one's starting to die, you can swap them in and out, and you don't lose anything. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then these little LEDs can be battery indicators, my understanding, or they can also be NDI tally lights, I guess. So, but then these little guys, they just have little openings here for the prongs, and then you can go ahead and stick those down in and latch them in, and then it gives you a nice little feet for it to sit up on. So yeah, pretty cool that MPF batteries. I love to see user replaceable batteries. That's the problem with, I think, some of the other live streaming devices that are similar to this, is you get into the issues of the internal battery, right? Like batteries, lithium ion batteries will go bad over time. It's inevitable. So by having the back where you can swap those batteries, I love seeing devices like that. It's just so much eco-friendly, I guess is the best way to put it. But really it's nice for the users, because if you've got a battery that starts to go bad over time, you can recycle it, buy a new one, and just click it in and click it out. But with it being hot swappable, really it's infinite power that way. So even though it doesn't have USB-C PD, it does have battery slots. So really that kind of makes up for it, I think. Yeah, I think so. With the replays, I think you can do 2 separate replays. You can have it be replay camera 1 and camera 2. So, and then in here you can actually decide what it's grabbing those replays from. So it can either be the encoders, the live stream, and then the encoders. So let's actually go back to the encoders. So if we go into one of the encoders, you can actually select what those encoders do. So right now, the defaults are just always the program. But if you come down here to this little add button, you can actually right here decide what is the encoder source. So you can actually have your encoder source be your 2 HDMIs, your webcams. So you can actually tell it to be one of these 4 different inputs, and that encoder is going to do nothing but that. So you could have it do one of those. So you could have it be HDMI 1 and HDMI 2 for those 2 different encoders, and then that's what the replays would actually be grabbing. Yes, lots of features. Yeah, that's the thing is the video I did was only like 8.5 minutes long, but I mean, you could literally make a 2 hour long video about this with how many different menus and buttons and features and just everything getting into it. Yeah, here's like those backlights. You can have it be battery indicators or NDI tallies. So just with all the different stuff that you could do with this, um, yeah, there's a lot of different features in it. Let's actually jump back since we've got this coming in over NDI. I did want to show this. I thought this was super cool. So this is this OBSBOT tail air coming in here over NDI. So now if you notice over NDI, you get a different PTZ control, like I guess layout. Since it's over NDI, I get my normal, pan, tilt, zoom. I get my different presets, but I only get 3 presets instead of like the 9 on the other screen. But what you get here is you can turn on and off the AI human tracking. You can, it's grayed out right now because I don't have an SD card in there. Actually, I do have an SD card. Let's throw one in. So let's throw one in up here. What's cool about this is from the talent, you can actually start and stop the internal camera recording through the talent. So now you're going to see here. So now this OBSBOT tail air, you're going to hear it beep. And now it's actually recording internally at 4K. So I'm NDI 1080p into my talent, but I'm kind of getting an ISO recording in my into my OBSBOT tail air at 4K on that SD card, and I can tell it to start and stop the recording, which is super cool. You can control the camera recording internally, and again, turn on that AI tracking, so I can turn it on. So now it's going to actually follow me. If I lean side to side, it'll actually go back and forth, and I can turn that back off. And I can go back to my preset, and then I can turn off that internal recording. Focus, zoom up there, you have full control over both of those, autofocus, and then this is how you can store the 3 different presets. So I thought this was super cool. But I did think it was interesting that the PTZ controls are different, whether you're doing NDI or doing that HDMI VESA controls. They're 2 different kind of control platforms, but it is cool that it can do it. I really like the NDI version because I can tell the recording to start and stop. I can also turn on that AI human tracking, which is kind of the whole, the big thing with the OBSBOT tail airs is they can, track a person as they're speaking or whatever. With the, I'll go ahead and plug in this USB webcam. I don't know if I showed that. I think I did. Yeah, I did show the PTZ control. So the PTZ control on the Tiny 2, or the light, tiny light. Let's see if we can find it here. It should be over here. Yeah. So with that tiny light, let's go in here to controls. So this is what its PTZ controls look like. So a little bit different. You've got, again, that AI tracking that you can turn on and off. You've got the store presets, autofocus, focus, and zoom, and then the 3 different presets there. So we'll go ahead and disconnect that. Let's see here. See what some other people are saying. Yeah, so the MPF to USB-C, I actually was looking for those. I did not find those anywhere. So yeah, I would love to try to find one of those. I think that would be super cool. I found MPF batteries that can charge over USB-C PD, but I didn't see like a quote-unquote dummy battery. But that would be super cool. So I have like a van kind of set up for live streaming and stuff. So everything in it's 12 volts. So really I could just feed this off of the 12 volt vehicle battery, the house battery stuff. Dedicate the encoder to camera sources. Yeah, you could, if you wanted it to, I guess. Yeah, you could have it, but you got to keep in mind those encoders are also what it uses to do the internal recording. So if you're going to do internal recording, you need to have one of those encoders. So you have to have one of those available for your recording. So if I come in here to my settings and I go to record, so right here, my local recording, I have to tell it, and I can do 2 different recordings. So that is one other thing. You could have the 2 different encoders, one recording a higher res copy and one recording a lower res copy. But you are telling the record to use one of those encoders. So just keep that in mind, that if you're going to use those encoders for your 2 different like HDMIs, you wouldn't technically then be recording your source or your program, I guess I should say, clarify that, your program feed. Yeah, the VESA protocol versus the NDI protocols are very different. So yeah, and that's what you see there with those 2 different controls. Yeah, I guess this is something else I'll show you guys. Let me zoom out a little bit on this camera here. So a lot of people I know got the smart remote, and I've actually got a video coming out probably tomorrow about this. You can actually update the firmware now in this guy, and then if you update the firmware in it, it actually works with the talent, which is so cool. So let me, what kind of sources we've got? So let's get our, I should just leave this connected. Let's get our USB webcam in. Let's get rid of this HDMI. So to get rid of it, all I'm doing is pressing and holding and then hitting delete. So I'm going to get rid of those. Let's get rid of this picture. Well, it's actually on air. So if you're on air on something, you can't delete it, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. I don't need it there. So now I've got these 3 camera sources, right? So let me get my control, move it up. Okay, so ignore the wire. So what I've got now is I've got my 3 different sources here. So I have camera, the USB cam. I have the tail air coming over NDI. And then I have kind of like our source that we made with the 2 cameras side by side. Now what's really cool about this is I can go ahead and turn on my remote. It's going to go ahead and connect up. And then I can hit this little button right here. This is the remote control button. And now you're going to see here in a second, it's now connected. You're going to notice these lights changed colors. So now, if I come down here, notice you've got 1, 2, and 3. It might be kind of hard to see. Let me see if I get you over into this view. Yeah, there you go. So you can kind of really see it 1, 2, and 3 there. So now, if you notice, if I double press 1, so I'm going to double tap it, it now switches my camera input. So now I just switched camera inputs using the smart remote. So I can switch my cameras back and forth. So I double tapped, now I went to camera 2. I'm gonna double tap, now I'm gonna go to that 3rd camera where it's both cameras now. So you can actually do the live switching using the smart remote now. And then if I go to this camera, and then if you notice really small up here under NDI, it says number 1. So if I just tap the number 1, you're going to notice it goes green. And now I have PTZ control of that camera, which is super cool, all from that remote. So now what I could do is, like, if you're thinking about this from a live stream, perspective. So I'm going to go to this camera. I'm going to tap on the number 2. Actually, let's go to, let's do this. So we're going to double tap camera 1. So we're off on this camera, right? I'm just going to press once. So it's going to go green. Now, if you notice this really small camera, I'm going to get the view where I want it, right? Like, I can get this camera pre-set up, get the shot that I want, and then once I've got the right angle, I can double tap on that, and then now I went to that camera. So I can actually like move it around without it being on air. So it's like in the preview mode. So I thought that was super cool. And then I guess, I don't know if I can show you if it has it in here. Yeah, USB-C. So here's the USB-C output. This is that display port. And these are all the different things that you can have come out of that USB-C port. So you can actually have a multi-view come out of that display port USB-C and actually get a multi-view setup where you have program preview and you can actually see it up on the screen prior to doing any kind of video switching, which I thought was pretty neat. But yeah, using the smart remote I thought was a pretty clever little thing, and then that just bounces back and forth. But now I have noticed that I did originally have this paired with my cameras, and now it's no longer paired with my cameras. So I don't know, I haven't played around with that. Is okay, now that it's paired to this, do I have to re-go through the pairing setup to get it paired back to my tail airs to be not within this? So I don't know, that's something I'll play with later, but thought that was super cool. You basically have a nice little remote that can control the talent. Oh, let's see about replay. Yeah, the talent's using those encoders to do the recording plus the replay stuff. So yeah, you could only do so much with them. So you've got those two. So I guess if you had like a main camera that you were wanting to do a preview on, you could have that main camera be one of the sources and then your program. But really, I think if you're going to be doing replays, my initial thought would be is you're doing a replay normally of your program feed, right? Like my thought is like a soccer game. You'd want to see that goal again or something like that. You would just replay the program feed, I would think. Let's see here. Yeah, the tail air remote, it was really easy to update. Basically, like I said, the video, I'll get it out tomorrow, but you connect this remote to your tail air USB port, and then you connect to the tail air over like the app, and then it lets you go ahead. Make sure you've got an SD card in the camera, but then you can then push the update to the remote. It's super cool. Yeah, I think the live app, yes, I think the live app will work this same way too. I'm pretty sure you can actually then do that. And then I noticed somewhere in here, maybe it's in here, there was somewhere in, I saw remote settings. I don't think it was this, no. Maybe system. I don't know where I saw it now, but there was somewhere that I saw remote settings, and you actually could configure what this OBSBOT button did. Oh, it was in the, yeah, it was in the control app. That's where it was. I noticed it in the app. So if I bring this over, ooh, this is terrible. But it'll get the point across. Where's that at? It was in here. Maybe not. I don't know where I saw that then. I thought it was maybe in there. Let me look. Settings. Shoot, I don't know where that was. Actually, it's possible that it was in here, but since the remote's not connected to the camera anymore, it might not be in there anymore. But yeah. Somewhere that I saw in the new settings, you can actually configure what this button does. So you do have to repair it to the camera after that. Yeah, I figured that's what I was going to have to do since it kind of re-lost, because I have all my cameras numbered. So all of my cameras were numbered according to what their remote button number was. So like technically this camera is camera 3, this one up here is camera 2, and then camera 1's in the box. So technically my cameras were numbered according to where they were in the remote. So yeah, so it looks like I'll have to redo all that. Yeah. I'm curious if you could like plug in like a keyboard into this and use like just a number keyboard, if you could map it to like if it would map to these numbers or not. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool with the smart remote. It gives you that functionality. Let's go ahead and zoom back in a little bit. Okay, what else do you guys want to see? Anything else? Oh man, I've been rambling for almost an hour. Let's see. You can look at the different settings. We'll go to network. So there's your different network stuff, hotspot, tethering, that kind of stuff, cellular, Ethernet. Bluetooth, you can do different Bluetooth options. You can have different Bluetooth audio coming in, Bluetooth audio coming out, display settings, so screen brightness. It is an AMOLED screen. I've noticed it's pretty bright. I have it turned down. I want to try it outside in like a bright sunny day and kind of see, but it does come with this little like sunshade. So it actually comes with this sunshade in the box, and it just like slides down over the back and it's thumb screws in. So it's actually a really nice little sunshade that kind of fits right on it perfectly, which is kind of neat. Audio settings, I guess we haven't talked about audio, so let's actually jump out into the audio because this is pretty impressive. So full on audio. A lot of stuff in here. So all of your different inputs, outputs, your monitor. So it's got headphone jack, so you can actually have headphone out to monitor your audio and control that volume. Microphone input, USB audio, so you can have audio coming in over the USB. All of your different HDMIs, NDI source audio, and then you can have it be like audio follows video, always on, always off, so you can control that. Normally, like my audio right now, I'm running the Rode wireless mics, which actually, yeah, okay, everything looks good on those. So with my Rode wireless, I want that always on. So I would probably come in here, turn NDI audio off, and then over here on my microphone, it would just always be on is what I would do. So yeah, so that's where you can get to your audio settings. And then you have to go into settings, audio, input delay. So it's in a different area, but this is where you can do your different millisecond delays. So this is where it's just the nature of NDI, the nature of HDMI, that processing takes time compared to analog audio coming in. So you would need to come in here and you would need to add so many milliseconds, so many frames basically, delay for your audio to sync up. So this is where you come in and do that at. So it's in your settings. So you go up here to the little hamburger, settings, audio, input delay. And then this is where you set your input delays for your audio. One thing I haven't noticed, but I guess it's not necessarily, is like any kind of mix minus. So if you were trying to do like, I don't know, it may do it. Like I said, I didn't see anything anywhere for mix minus, but that's something I could think of that would be useful, is where if I needed to basically have audio fed out but not include the microphone audio so I wouldn't get feedback. But then again, it doesn't have HDMI out, so I don't know how useful necessarily that would be, but that was one thing I didn't see right off the bat. Storage, this was cool. It does have 64 gigs of internal storage, so there is some storage internally. Personally, I think I would probably use SD cards for the recordings, but then use that internal storage for graphic assets, right? So that could be where I would store, Any kind of videos that I want to play, like intros, outros, that kind of stuff, I think I'd probably store those on the internal storage, but then use the SD cards for all of my actual recordings. So recordings, this is where you can set whether it goes to internal storage first or SD card first. We talked about the encoders, that's where you can change those. Streaming, here's all your different streaming platforms. You can configure those, you can add new ones. Recording, this is where you can set the recordings. Tail air recording, oh that's cool, I didn't know it told you wow, that's actually really cool. So this is the tail air information about how much SD cards used on the tail air. That is actually super cool. Wow, I didn't know it did that. Learned something else. That's pretty neat. One thing I would love to see as a feature is like when I hit this record, I would love to see it like automatically start the recording in the tail air. I think that would be a really easy feature that they could include. And basically that would get you the ISO recordings. That would be kind of nice. So, hey OBSBOT, feature request. Switching, here's all your different switching settings. You can do the transition, you can have it be a fade or a cut, and then the timing for those. Backlight settings, those are those back LEDs that I talked about earlier. The USB-C settings, so here's where you can have it be UVC, which is Universal Video Camera. So this is like for Teams, Google Meet, you know, that kind of stuff, and Zoom, any of those kinds of things are going to use that. So this is where you can set that up. And then the name of the device that would show up, or you can do file transfer over the USB. And then this is where you change the display port stuff for, that's where you can get your multi-view, that kind of thing. Replay, we talked about replay earlier. Here's where you can set up that replay, all that kind of stuff. I have not dived into replay stuff, but that's where you can do it. This is something I really want to play with, OSC controls. I would really like to play with this and see about getting it working with Companion. If you're not familiar with Companion, it can run on like a Raspberry Pi, and you can do like live streaming automation stuff with it. So using OSC commands, I think it could integrate with Companion. And then system settings. This is where you can do firmware updates. I did have to update the firmware, obviously. I did actually have to update firmware in, this is something else I'll talk about, in the Tiny 2 and the Tiny Lite. I had to update the firmware in those as well as the OBSBOTs to get them to work with the Talent. So if you're not seeing PTZ control and you've got your OBSBOT webcam plugged in, it probably needs a firmware update. So plug it into your PC and update the firmware, and then you'll notice it'll pop in. Let's get out of there. Device status, I thought that was pretty cool. It tells you internal temps, how much memory you're using, what your CPU usage is. So this is something I want to play around with, like try to feed in like 3 NDI sources, 2 HDMI, like really try to bog it down and see what my CPU usage gets up to. Because right now I'm already at 58% memory usage. So yeah, I think that's all those settings. We didn't talk about this. You can actually telestrate right on the screen, so you can actually draw on the screen, and then that comes out over your program feed. Then you can get rid of it. Some of your other controls, quick replays, fade to black, freeze frame, so you can freeze the screen, change. You can customize all this, so you can add a whole lot more. So you can add live comments, scoreboards, timers, list goes on. Like I said, there is so much in here. I could literally probably talk for 4 hours about everything that's inside this thing. It is insane. Up here, captures like a screenshot, does a screenshot, saves it to the internal memory since I don't have an SD card plugged in. Let's actually add, let's go and add the scoreboard, because I know a lot of people like scoreboard stuff. Oh, apparently I've reached the max number of buttons. So let's get rid of the pin. I don't need the pin. And let's add the scoreboard. Scoreboard. And let's get rid of the graphics. Actually, let's leave graphics. let's get rid of the remote. We don't need the remote right now. And let's add live comments. See what those two look like. So let's go and look at, well, I don't know where those are. Did I not add them? I did add them. Oh, I have to put them in. So there's where you can do the social media templates. Here's the scoreboard. So all of these different scoreboards are built in, which is crazy. There's a bunch. So I thought this one was pretty cool. If you're doing like a baseball thing, you can have your home, guests, that kind of stuff, different plays, and you can resize it just like everything else. So we'll leave it like that. We'll hit save. And let's go ahead and put it on screen. And then here's your controls. So you got a runner on second, you got 1 out, 1 strike. We're in the top of the second inning. You know, home's got 1, guests have 1. Oh, now we're out to 2 outs. Super cool. And you can have that all in there, just like that. So let's go ahead and turn that off. Yeah, I don't know where. I'm assuming the would come in over social medias. It's possible because I don't have any like YouTube accounts plugged into this. I'm not seeing where those live comments are. So that probably can't show that tonight. But can look at another one that a lot of people like is countdowns. Let's do a timer. This one looks kind of neat. That one's kind of boring. Let's actually cancel that. Let's find a different one. Timer. This one looks fun. Save it. Let's go ahead and put it on. That's cool. And then how do we start it? Do we press and hold? Controls. Start. There we go. Pretty neat. Easy. Let's see what other questions you guys got. Yeah, start recording on all devices. Yeah, I think that would definitely be pretty sweet. I think that would be pretty cool where if I hit this record button, it would just automatically start the recording in the tail airs. It would give you, like I said, kind of like an ISO recording really inside the cameras themselves. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I figured it would be from like Twitch or YouTube is where those the live comments would come in, but I didn't know where I would see the settings. But like I said, it's probably because I don't have any of my accounts connected in. So that's probably why I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I was hoping to have them on here, but like your guys' comments, I'd like to be able to put them up on screen. So maybe I will do a live stream, maybe sometime next week with this, and actually have this be the encoder and do, you know, play around with the live chats and see how that works. Because I really do want to test out the encoders in this and see all what they can do. Okay, what else do you guys want to see? I've been streaming for about an hour, so I might be jumping off here, but you guys want to see anything before I go? So you could use... Yeah, I was trying to figure out actually how to feed, because I didn't want to do a camera recording the screen. I was trying to figure out how to get this out. So there's no HDMI out. There is this USB-C output, it outputs UVC mode, so webcam, and then it also does DisplayPort. Well, excuse me, the DisplayPort is the only way you can do the screen mirroring. If you plug it into like a YOLO box that does USB in, it sees it as a UVC, and in the UVC mode, you can only output program or the different sources. You can't output the screen, you can't mirror the screen, and you can't output the multi-view. You can only do that over USB-C DisplayPort. So yeah, I wasn't able to figure out how to get this screen into the ATEM without having basically a USB-C like DisplayPort capable input to HDMI device, I guess would be the only way. I do have these like glasses that are DisplayPort capable, and I plugged those into it, and I can actually see my multi-view in those. So I know it outputs that way, but I couldn't figure out how to get it into the ATEM. Yeah, I was also trying to see if using, the other thought I had was, could I use an encoder and like use one of the second encoder and have it output the display, but it doesn't. It can the encoders can only do program, HDMI, or webcam. That's all those encoders can do. And then I was even thinking, well, could I have it like feed out of this USB-C port into the USB port, but then that's just a webcam output, so that wouldn't work. The Talents webpage. Yeah, I have not played with that. So as far as I do know, the Talent does output, it does output, like have a web page. I have not connected to it, to be honest. So I have no idea what that web page looks like. I've not messed with it at all. You said the Talents web page can download the video. That's cool. So you can download it. What was it? That was something else I guess we didn't talk about. We can talk about real quick. Is it does have, for graphics, you can actually do web pages. So you can actually feed a web page for your graphics. So you can have it pull from different web graphics kind of stuff. And it'll do it all internally from here, which is kind of neat. Custom, I haven't played with custom. I guess custom's just the different layers. So you can go in and add different layers. So, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's, yeah, it's really weird because if you come up here, you'll see this, it's hard to see, but it says external display, and that doesn't do anything. Now, if I take these little like these little glasses, these are like display glasses. If I take these, because they are a display port, and I plug them into there. So now you see this pop-up screen, external screen found, and this is where you can then do all of these. So you can either duplicate the screen, you can do, actually let me get you a full screen. So you can do clean view, preview, multi-view, duplicate, loop, those. So this is what you can do. So you can actually have a duplicated screen, and then I can exit out of there. And I doubt this is going to work. Yeah, you can't really tell, but you can see it's duplicated inside there, inside the glasses, which is kind of neat. So, and then I can even come in here and I can do multi-view. So now you'll notice there's actually a multi-view inside there. So I know this is really hard to see, but it gives you the idea of the different inputs are down there. And then you have a program preview source. So I wish you could basically have this setting when it's in UVC mode. That would be super cool. But I don't know if that's something they can do or not. But hey, OBSBOT, again, this would be a nice thing if we could figure out how to get that over UVC mode, because this only does it when it's in DisplayPort mode. So, and this is my only thing that does DisplayPort like monitor. I don't have a USB-C monitor. So, but yeah, thought that was pretty neat. But that only shows up whenever you have a DisplayPort device plugged into it. Cool. I'm glad you guys liked it. Yeah, I think I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to get to bed. So, yeah, appreciate you guys joining in. I'm glad I could show it off. It's been a pretty cool device. Like I said, I've been playing with it for a little while now, and it's been fun. So, yeah, definitely, I have to say it, like, subscribe. I'll be putting more videos out about it. So, I've got a couple other video ideas that I want to get out there and get them posted. So, yeah, if you have any other ideas, definitely, and for, I guess, people that might be watching this stream after the fact, not watching it live, put in the comments what you guys want to see. I will try to do some videos on it. So, as far as I know, I do have to send this back. So, which I'm super bummed because I really do like it. It's pretty nice. It's really rock solid. I've not had it crash on me, which I've had some other devices crash on me. It's been really rock solid, and it just integrates so well with the OBSBOT cameras. So hopefully I get to keep it. Nah, I got to send it back. So it is what it is, but it's been fun to play with. So yeah, so while I've got it for the next month, if there's anything you guys want to see, if you're watching this after the fact, put in the comments below what you want to see. So thank you all for joining in. I'm Eli, the Electronics Guy. See ya.